Okay, let's dive in. We track big corporate news all the time, but what we're seeing now out of South Korea is what's on another level entirely.
It really is. We're talking about three absolutely massive, multi-trillion won projects hitting almost simultaneously.
And across the most critical advanced tech sectors, right?
That
AI, defense, and nuclear energy.
Exactly. And the kicker, they're all strategically very directly tied to the United States. This isn't just business as usual.
No, it feels much bigger, like a deliberate geopolitical play unfolding right before our eyes.
That's the core of it. What's really fascinating, and what our sources are detailing, is how these enormous industrial commitments, deals potentially worth tens of trillions of won, spanning decades, aren't happening in some kind of bubble.
They're running parallel to some pretty intense diplomatic maneuvering.
Extremely high-stakes pressure, specifically around the upcoming ROK-US summit. So our mission today really is to connect those dots for you.
Right, to show how these huge corporate wins are actually part of a much larger, critical geopolitical game.
Think of it as a real-time map of where global capital and strategic power are flowing. You're literally watching two major allies deciding where to place their bets for the future.
Okay, so let's start with the technology that shapes everything else. AI, artificial intelligence. There's this huge government plan for a national AI computing center.
Yeah, a massive initiative. The total project cost is pegged at around 2 trillion KRW.
And that signals, what, a move towards tech independence.
I think that's exactly it. This isn't just another government IT upgrade. This looks like Korea deciding it needs its own large-scale AI infrastructure, its own AI brain, if you will.
And the group that actually won the bid, they were the only bidder, right? That detail stood out.
That is interesting, isn't it? They were the sole bidder. It's a consortium running what sources are calling a one-team strategy.
Now, one team within Samsung, like Samsung Electronics, SDS, C&T, working together, that makes internal sense. But the really eye-opening part was who else is involved.
You picked up on the key point. Beyond the Samsung affiliates, you have major players like Kakao, KT, and Nevercloud.
These are normally fierce competitors, the backbone of Korea's digital world.
Exactly. And they're all collaborating here. Why? Well, it seems the urgency of building this national AI capability sort of overrides their usual market rivalries.
So the prospect of relying on external, maybe less secure computing resources kind of forced their hand, pushed them together.
That seems to be the logic. The scale of the hardware commitment tells the story. The goals are incredibly ambitious.
What are we talking specifically?
They're planning to deploy 15,000 high-end GPUs graphics processing units by 2028.
15,000.
And then ramp that up fast to over 50,000 GPUs by 2030.
50,000 GPUs. Wow. Just think about that processing power.
It's enormous, and it's explicitly designed to boost private R&D. The idea is to give domestic startups, universities, the kind of compute power they need to compete globally without having to depend on foreign cloud providers.
That kind of scale, 50,000 GPUs.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder about the money. How do you structure a 2 trillion won project like this? Keep the government involved, but still keep it nimble.
Well, the structure is quite telling. It's built around an SPC, a special purpose corporation. That's pretty standard for big infrastructure projects.
Okay.
But the crucial part is the private consortium is set to hold over 70% equity in this SPC.
Ah, so majority private control.
Right. It suggests the government provides the initial push, the strategic direction, maybe some funding, but the day-to-day execution, the agility, that comes from the private sector.
Which probably means they're prioritizing speed and efficiency over, say, bureaucratic layers. Makes sense.
And even within that private majority, you see that competitive balance again. Samsung SDS and Navercloud, those big rivals, they're reported to hold comparable double-digit stakes.
While the others have smaller pieces.
Yeah.
Interesting. So it balances the power while forcing cooperation.
Seems designed that way. Oh, and for anyone tracking locations, this vital piece of national infrastructure, it's planned for the Solicito Industrial Complex down in Hatem.
Okay, so that's the digital strengths covered. Now let's pivot from computing power to, well, raw industrial power.
Yeah.
Defense and heavy industry. HD Hyundai just made a move into the U.S. military market that sounds unprecedented.
It really is a landmark move. This isn't just about selling some equipment. It looks like a deep integration into the U.S. defense industrial base itself.
How so? What's the actual deal?
They've signed a strategic MOA. a memorandum of agreement with Huntington Ingalls Industries, HIR.
HII. They're the biggest U.S. defense shipbuilder, right? Aircraft carriers, nuclear subs, that HII.
That's the one. And this agreement commits HD Hyundai to participate in designing and building the U.S. Navy's next-generation logistics support vessel.
Logistics support. Okay, so crucial for fleet operations, mobility, efficiency. But you said it's more than just building the ship.
Much more. The really strategic part, the headline grabber, is the commitment to joint investment within the U.S. Meaning they plan to either buy an existing U.S. shipyard together or potentially build a brand new one from scratch on U.S. soil.
Whoa. Establishing a physical footprint in the U.S. Why is that so critical? Does that expose Hyundai to risks, like U.S. labor issues or politics, they wouldn't face back home?
That's the trade-off, isn't it? For the U.S. side, it's about resilience. They want that critical naval capacity physically located stateside. It's supply chain security, essentially.
And for HD Hyundai?
It's the price of entry into the world's most exclusive defense club. By investing directly in the U.S. industrial base, they go from being just a foreign supplier to, well, a deeply embedded strategic partner.
It makes them indispensable, in a way.
Potentially. And the benefits start immediately. They'll be supplying crucial components like block modules to HII's existing huge shipyards, Newport News, Ingalls. Plus, they're looking at joint engineering, maintenance, repair, overhaul MRO work.
So it moves beyond just talk. It's literal steel being shaped together, a fundamental shift.
I think so. It shows a level of trust, maybe, from the U.S. side, a willingness to deeply integrate South Korean capability, viewing them as perhaps the most reliable partner in that specific arena.
Which leads us nicely to the third mega deal, energy security. Hyundai E&C landing something major in the U.S. nuclear sector.
Yeah, another first. First Korean construction firm to get this specific type of contract for a large nuclear reactors in the U.S.
What kind of contract?
It's the FFED contract, Basic Engineering Design. This is for 4 large reactors planned as part of something called the Complex Energy and AI Campuses for a company named Fermi America.
Okay, FEED contract. Sounds important, but maybe not the full construction yet. But large nuclear reactors. What's the potential financial scale we're talking about here?
The potential is, well, it's staggering. If Hyundai E&C can leverage this initial design work into the full EPC contract that's engineering, procurement, construction.
Just whole build out?
Exactly. Then the total value could top 60 trillion KRW.
60 trillion. Did I hear that right?
60 trillion. The sources note a single large reactor typically runs somewhere between 12 to 15 trillion KRW, so multiply that by 4. We're talking a decades-long commitment, massive financing, huge technical challenges. It's almost hard to grasp the scale.
60 trillion won tied to a U.S. energy project. That's just... Wow. And the sources are pretty clear. This didn't just happen purely on commercial merit, did it?
The political dimension is explicit. The sources directly link this opportunity to U.S. administration policy, specifically mentioning the Trump administration's drive to boost energy security and deepen the U.S.-Korea energy partnership.
So it's not just Hyundai E&C being good at building things. It's a direct result of top-level political strategy creating an opening for them.
Precisely. It's high-level policy translating into critical infrastructure deals.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. We've laid out these 3 colossal, long-term industrial ventures. AI, defense ships, nuclear reactors, all deeply linked with U.S. strategy, all needing significant political backing.
Right.
But these deals are landing while the political atmosphere, particularly between the U.S. and Korea, is, let's say, highly pressurized, especially around that upcoming summit.
And that's the crucial context. All this trillion-won cooperation, it creates a powerful, almost tangible backdrop for the diplomacy. The ROK-US summit is set for October 29th during the APEC meeting in Gyeongju.
And President Trump has been applying very public pressure ahead of it.
Very clear pressure. It sounds intensely transactional, almost like these mega deals we just discussed are the main bargaining chips on the table.
What are the specific demands the sources mentioned? It's about trade, right?
It is. He reportedly said a trade agreement is very close, which sounds good initially.
But there's a catch.
A big one. He immediately followed up by saying he's ready if Korea accepts conditions the U.S. finds appropriate. And this isn't vague. It links directly back to that ongoing dispute over the $350 billion U.S. investment cash ratio. That's been a sticking point since July.
So the signal is crystal clear. These huge industrial opportunities, their successful completion, maybe even their continuation, it's all tied to Korea playing ball on these broader financial terms.
It absolutely seems that way. It's the carrot and the stick. happening at the same time. We'll let you build these amazing things, the carrot, but you need to agree to our financial conditions, the stick.
That puts immense pressure on the Korean side going into the summit.
Creates a very high stakes, very transactional dynamic. And speaking of high stakes, there was another, maybe more subtle, but potentially huge shift in language happening around the same time regarding North Korea.
Ah, yes, the reference to North Korea as a kind of nuclear power. That phrasing definitely raised eyebrows, a real departure from typical U.S. statements.
A significant departure. Trump referred to them as a kind of nuclear power and also mentioned they have many nuclear weapons. Now, that's not just an assessment, it feels like a political signal.
A signal to whom and why now?
The source material suggests it could be read as a sort of calculated conciliatory message towards Kim Jong-un, especially given Kim's stance against negotiating denuclearization up front.
Interesting. And didn't Trump also mention being open to meeting Kim?
He did. He said he's open to meeting Kim Jong-un at the DMZ during his visit to Korea, should Kim reach out.
Okay, so let's pull this all together. The U.S. is dangling these massive multi-trillion-won industrial projects. At the same time, it's demanding compliance on specific trade terms. And simultaneously, it's adjusting its rhetoric on North Korea, maybe signaling a shift in diplomatic approach.
It paints a picture of incredibly fast-paced, high-stakes negotiation, where every major economic win seems immediately linked to a political demand. The line between commerce and diplomacy feels completely blurred here.
It really underscores that in today's geopolitics, huge economic deals are political leverage. The sheer scale and strategic importance of these AI, defense, and energy contracts, they're undeniable proof of cooperation, yes.
But they also represent enormous bargaining power for the U.S. heading into these critical talks.
So we've seen the incredible scale, trillions of won, and the deep strategic alignment across key future industries. Now, we want to leave you with a final question to think about.
Given that these huge, multi-decade contracts in defense and energy are so tightly woven into U.S. strategic interests, what actually happens if those trade talks completely fall apart over that disputed $350 billion cash balance?
Right. And what does it tell you about the future of the whole U.S.-Korea relationship when the U.S. president labels North Korea a kind of nuclear power while simultaneously making these very hard-nosed trade demands? Does this signal a purely transactional future?
And crucially, how might all that political uncertainty, that potential instability, affect the long-term execution and ultimate success of these incredibly complex, sprawling industrial commitments we've discussed today?
Something for you to consider as you watch these global, political, and corporate strategies continue to intertwine.